Hi, everybody. So this is our last video in this series for our ebook on transformational leadership tips. And the last tip is really around creating brave space. I am going to share with you a poem. And I think it's important to like just pull some of the words apart here, um, and really see how they resonate with you and also think about how you might use this in some of your work. So I'll read this out loud and pause a little bit as we go along. So brave space. Together we will create brave space because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side. This is a poem written by Mickey Scott Bay Jones based on Beth Strano's original work. And I find this poem to be so helpful in the kinds of work that we're doing when we're talking about being transformative. There is an important distinction in talking about being brave and courageous and not just talking about creating safety. Too often in our work, and I know this is what I was trained to do, we talk about it all the time. We are going to have a safe space. What happens is when we talk about safety, there's a way in which some people's in groups safety is prioritized over others. And so what becomes safe for one group is not always safe for everyone else. And if we want to actually move in a direction in which we have, which I love here, more truth and love, where one of the things that we will need to do, right, is examine the things that we think we know. And very often, what we think we know, which is not to have a sort of a critical perspective, not to um, make someone's experiences invalid. It is really just to expand our visions of what is possible. And if we do that, then we have greater likelihood of being able to achieve those things that might, for some of us, feel impossible. And also to achieve those things in which more of us are engaged in that experience. And it's not just an isolated group of people that benefit from that. So I think it's really critical that we talk about brave space, that you, when you're working with groups of people, that you establish, as we talked about in the tip sheet, some sense of uh, guidelines for like how you're going to talk with each other. So one of the things that we do, in addition to starting off by sharing a poem like this, or playing some kind of music with a song that might also have some lyrics that are like really compelling and engaging for the group, is that we go through and create some shared uh, guidelines for how we're going to meet and how we're going to engage with each other. So, in addition to the steps and the ones that I mentioned in the book, I wanted to talk about another one, which is how do we engage in these virtual platforms? Very often I hear, oh, we need to meet in person. People like there's the Zoom fatigue, there's all the components that are related to that. And there may be a sense in which this space is not safe for everyone, or that, you're wondering who else is listening in. And so I want to encourage us to be very intentional in checking in related to, how are we going to meet? What are the parameters? Are you going to use an AI assistant? How are the sessions being recorded? Are they not being recorded? Who is going to share that information? It's important to say those kind of things up front. So, for example, when I am doing interviews with people and it's part of the research that I'm doing, or it's part of sort of the background research for the engagement that I'm in, then we'll talk about, do I have your permission to record? All of these things are about creating a brave space. They're talking about how we can engage and actually then invite people to be more of their full selves, and recognizing that, this is going to change over time. The way that we meet, the way that we communicate with each other, whether or not we need to take time to maybe create our own, set of values. For example, just because I said we're going to be respectful doesn't mean that the way I interpret being respectful is the same as someone else is going to interpret being respectful. So it's important to not only talk about and like list out the things that help us to create this brave space together, but also to unpack what those things might be. So I hope this is helpful to just kind of get started and thinking about this. I wonder if it's at all provocative, to think about creating a brave space instead of just talking about safe spaces. Make a note in the comments. This is the work that we actually support organizations and people in continuing to do. And it's also the work that I help in supporting executive coaches, in my executive coaching, so that people are um, leading their teams where we're not just focused on being perfect, right? And having the best answer, but learning how to cultivate a space and energy, innovation, creativity, so that you have all the different ideas, and then together you can make a decision about what you're going to try out, and how you're going to actually move forward on the initiatives that you have before you. So again, thank you for participating in this series connected to our ebook. We will be excited to respond to any comments, ideas, or suggestions for additional videos, and we can easily, from there, create more content and support so that you can continue to lead with purpose and vision. Thank you so much.